The gift of prophecy cannot be faked. It cannot be learned in any kind of school of the prophets. It is a gift from God, and only God can give that gift. Many people can get words from God, but that still doesn't make you a prophet. If you have the true gift of prophecy under the label prophet, you would understand what I'm saying, and you don't. Lots of people all over the world, they will call this movement in the spiritual realm by different names. Some will call it astral travel, others will call it remote viewing. But those of the kingdom of God, the Most High God, call it moving in the Spirit. And I understand it fully, though I didn't way back then. I don't do anything to make it happen. God makes it happen. I don't pray for it, and I didn't ask for this gift. When I finally got an answer from a pastor back in Michigan named Ken, he told me this because I told him what my dilemma was about the devil attacking me and these visions with Jesus in them. And he's named off all the different ministries, I guess, in the church. And I said, I don't know anything about the church. I just know what's happening and I need some help. And he said, it sounds like you're a prophet. And I remember crying. I mean, really crying. I don't want to be a prophet. I don't want this. And he said, well, God apparently chose you, so you just have to wait and see what God's going to do with it. Now, that was back in Grand Rapids, Michigan. All I knew is I was having these visions. And it was of people I've never seen, and then they'd show up the next day, or show up the next month, or show up in 3 months, or buildings being crashed down by the Las Vegas earthquake. And I would see it, and I would freak out. I suppose when you have the true gift, that would be the only way you would find out that you had that gift. It's funny how God chooses babies to reveal his truths. But that's what he does. It's true. Because I'm not so bright. I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, okay? But not having any kind of indoctrination of any church or any of that, it was very, very strange to me and fascinating. But I've had many visions. I'm not political, and it's of people I don't even know. And this particular vision is about Andrew Brietbart. I did not know of him. I had never heard of him. I didn't know him. I knew zero about him. He could be standing in my presence and I wouldn't even know. Somebody would have to tell me. This is how my visions happen. I move in the kingdom of the spiritual realm when God takes me. I don't try, and I just know what I know. When I'm in these visions, it's like it's clearer than when I'm awake. Everything is more vibrant. I can see all the way around. Sometimes they're very short visions. When I say short, they might be, I don't know, because there's no time there. But it feels like some of my visions are 5 minutes. Some feel like they're half an hour. And every one of them is completely different in the way God shows me things. It's amazing. But what I can tell you about actually having the gift of prophecy and not spaghetti slinging, or just getting a word, really getting a word from God, that still doesn't make you a prophet. I can only tell you my experiences. And I'm going to tell you what I saw on the very day that Andrew Brietbart was murdered. Freaked me out. It also put me on the rogue government's target. I was already there, but it just made it worse. Vision on March 1st, 2012. I witnessed the murder of a man this morning while I was asleep. I was literally placed in a vision again. And I'm now in the spiritual realm without my body, watching these events from the ceiling. They didn't even see me up there. Everything about me, my personality, my love, my thoughts, they were all there hovering near the ceiling, but my body of flesh wasn't there with me. I got to tell you, brothers and sisters, it feels great and so much better than being in my flesh body. I didn't like what I was watching, though. I don't even understand why Jesus has taken me here to watch this, but I know it's got to be really, really important. So I do. And yes, Jesus took me there, but then he was gone. And he tells me to repeat what I'm hearing and seeing, which I did back then. Yikes. He says that somebody out there will understand, even if I don't at the time. So I'm just dreaming this normal dream when Jesus comes to get me. He wasn't there when I arrived, though. He left, and I found myself hovering over the ceiling of this stranger's kitchen alone. Now I'm floating from above as I stare down to the right at someone's kitchen table, and my spiritual eyes are able to gather information if God allows, and that's what they were doing. My eyes were just looking, and what I was seeing is a man's head, and it's laying on his kitchen table. His left ear is pressed against the table, and he's not moving, but he's not dead. I know he's not dead. The wisdom is given to me in my spirit when I'm in the visions, and this man is not dead, but he's headed there. And I can only see the back of his head from my position, and I'm not allowed to move from my space on the ceiling. Jesus often does not let me move when I want to move. It's only what he allows me to see. So I'm not allowed to move, and I can't see his face. And I'm trying, but I can't. I can only see the back of his head and his hair. And his hair isn't blonde, and it's not black. It's a color in between, and I don't even know what hair color he had. It was a mixture of different colors. And I'm told that he's headed to death and that he's unconscious. Well, I'm confused of why I'm being given this wisdom that this man was dining on food right before he died, because a rush comes into my spirit, and it's like years of knowledge coming into your spirit, and you can process it within split seconds. I don't know how else to explain it to you, but I don't see any food at this table, and I'm completely confused, but I continue to watch the events that are transpiring below at this table. There are 3 males standing in the kitchen next to him. I know that these 3 specific men killed him. He's definitely headed to death, and nothing can stop this death. And Jesus has literally blurred out these 3 men's faces. And I'm being told that they're rogue government people. I can see everything about them except for the detail of their faces. Their features look really blurred, and it's like somebody just took a pencil eraser and erased their face out, and only a blur remained. And I know that Jesus has done this for a reason. I'm just not to know their faces or anything that will allow me to identify them. And I know that he's actually protecting me and keeping me safe, because he had already asked me to share this. So I get it. My spirit understands, and I accept whatever God tells me. My spirit is saying that I don't know any of these men personally, though, but I can feel their spirits, and they are so wicked. And I'm totally still confused about why I'm given this wisdom in my spirit that he was dining on food right before he died. And I clearly see food as the information given to me. And I'm looking at this unconscious man who's down with his head on the table, and there's absolutely no food at the table. None. There are only 3 men standing near him at a table, and they're visiting this man around his dinner time. I don't know. This is what's going on in my mind while I'm viewing this. I can't interpret it, not while I was in the vision and not when I was awake either. Well, the first man has his hands on the side of this unconscious man's head, and he's moving it back and forth, and he's jiggling and jiggling his head, so trying to move something around inside his head. He was not jiggling this unconscious man's head in a position, like positioning him for this murder, setting up a murder scene. He was purposely moving something around inside this man's head, and the information flow was just flying into my spirit. The second man is quietly watching the first man jiggling the unconscious man's head around, and he's holding an injection needle that has already been used. He used it on the man who has his head on the table, and he's getting ready to get rid of it, remove it, and hide it. Well, the man's body was quickly moved away by these 2 men. They scooped him up, and they lifted him up quickly and took him away from the injection site to another room in the house. The man was taken completely out of my view, and I still can't move on my place up on the ceiling to get a better look. Now there's a 3rd man, and he's standing alone at the table. He's been silent the whole time that all of this is happening. And as the man's jiggling his head, I was even given more information about him. The 2 other men knew exactly why he was jiggling his head, even though I didn't. And they were waiting for him to finish. And I was shocked by what I saw next. While the 2 men had taken Andrew Brietbart out of this room, the 3rd man began cleaning the table. And he is rubbing this table vigorously. And I'm receiving this information flow as he is removing all these traces. He's removing evidence of them even being there at his house. And I'm watching from above, and I'm completely stunned and shocked to hear this knowledge about this man. This man was only there for a cleanup job. This was his only job. And he continued to wipe harder and harder. And he doesn't even see me watching him. I'm watching this wicked flipping man, and I want to scream out at him, "Wiping up your lies can't help you against Jesus, sir." But they're not here. They're just not going to hear me if I yell. I'm again receiving rushes of information in my spirit that the man whose head was laying on the table was unsuspecting of his impending death. They tricked him, and he actually let them inside his house. He wasn't afraid when he let them in. This man is going to die, and I know he's headed to death. That injection was given up his nostril. It's going to disperse inside his head, and he's going to die at a later time, and not too long from now. Now, I don't even know what time it is. It's going to go right through his blood-brain barrier and kill him. His death has nothing to do with the poisoning by food, and I'm still really confused because why am I being shown food? Without even any warning, I am completely moved and catapulted away from the scene, and Jesus is now focusing my eyes on this really, really long list. And the wisdom is given to me in my spirit that it's a kill list. This was a hit list, and there are so many names on it, and I'm shocked by this. I can hardly believe that the wicked have a kill list. I don't know. I just never thought about people having lists, but apparently they do. And just as Jesus blurred the three killers' faces, he did the very same thing for this kill list. Every name was blurred on this list except for two specific names. They looked different. They had a strange shimmer. They stood out. I call it they shined. When I see things throughout my life and they shine, I just know that there's something special about it. A brightness that was much different than the blurred faces. They had a strange brightness that was much different than any of the other blurred names. It just shimmered. So I stared with my spiritual eyes at the two specific names, and my spirit knew that God was really allowing me to see only those two names. I already knew. I knew what he expected me to do. I did. He was telling me to set my focus on those two only. And as I did with the first name, the shimmering, as I did with the first shimmery blur of a name, it lifted up from the bottom and the wisdom just shot out and went in my spirit. It went right into my spirit in that split second. This man's name, the exact man who I just saw at the table who got murdered by this injection, his name came shooting out from underneath that blur and went right into my spirit. And as soon as I had received the information about him, it sealed itself down on a list. This is how I understand in other visions when I read the scriptures, when it says that God has sealed it. This is what he means. It's a sealing. And if God won't allow you to have that information, you aren't getting it. It don't matter. He sealed it. Now you know something about when you read the scriptures. Well, I was only allowed that information that it was him. I saw and read, and it was sealed for me. I only knew that it was the man at the table, and I'm not allowed to have his name. Great. Well, the other shimmery blur is the next I went to. And I stared at it just in the same way, focused my eyes like God wanted me to, and it immediately lifted up from the bottom, and the wisdom flew out into my spirit. And I'm not shocked by this at all, okay? I immediately knew why my name was there. It's my punishment by the rogue government for releasing the first godly leak that God showed me, okay? And I knew it. They're quite angry because I exposed their darkness. And as soon as I received that information, I was completely taken out of my vision.